The goal of this U.S.-China Dialogue series is to draw focus on how the U.S. and Chinese economies are intertwined.
Today's symposium will explore the issues and the possibilities. We are indeed fortunate to have experts from across the spectrum to provide insight into the U.S.-China agricultural trade relationship. The U.S.-Asia Institute believes strongly in the importance of dialogue as a foundation for expressing concerns, finding solutions, and keeping the lines of communication open.
Only by working on these issues to the satisfaction of both will we have a stable trade relationship. It is so important that we get this right, not only for our nations, but for the entire world.
We need this kind of dialogue more than ever as we meet at a moment of rising tension and uncertainty in the U.S.-China relationship. The challenge then is, how can our governments and our companies manage contention and competition in a way that durably and sustainably creates value?
Neither China nor the United States can turn the other into itself. Both sides must accept that the other side will have different ideas, policies, and practices on many issues, but their shared interests far outnumber their differences.
It's imperative for our state's agricultural sector and our economy as a whole that the U.S. and China establish free, fair, and equitable trade that is consistent and reliable in the long term.
It is imperative that we are able to seamlessly transport and sell our products all around the world. There is no doubt that China is an important market for U.S. agriculture.
The question then becomes how we move forward as two people with manifest differences over trade, over security, and over human rights. Trade does not sit outside of these important considerations.
When you look at 2020, it's a record-setting year for the United States, exporting over $27 billion worth of agricultural products just to China.
Our farmers would really welcome a partnership with China to help kind of more normalize this trade relationship and to help the shipping system work in a fair way for our farmers, so we can both profit and we can both kind of meet our trade obligations.
Few state economies around the country, in fact, are as prominently tied to agriculture as Nebraska's is, with over $6.2 billion in ag exports in 2019. The success of our state here in Nebraska is tied directly to the strong trade relationships our ag producers have in the global economy.
So what a difference a year makes, and then what a difference in just a short amount of time for farmers and producers to try to react to different kinds of markets.
Especially in the current global pandemic time, China and the US have responsibilities to pay more attention to the importance of expanding trade, investment, personnel exchange between the two countries. Among them, agricultural trade will be one of the most promising areas for achieving win-win cooperation.
China's own economic advances and improving standard of living have led to high demand for safe, high-quality food for its people and feed for its livestock.
With 1.4 billion people, there are 500, 600 million consumers looking for safe, competitively priced food products, and they many times will turn to products sourced from the United States.
As we look at economies growing and people moving up in the middle class, obviously the disposable income increases, and that creates some opportunities for the red meat industry. Nebraska is very, very well positioned to be able to service that market.
We kind of talk sometimes that, you know, the most successful trade relationship is a very boring and predictable one. And that allows us to capitalize on consumer demand, and it shows that there's trust between both sides.
We have to be open and honest about the things that could get in the way of the brighter future we all hope for. But I'm happy to say that there are at least as many reasons for optimism as there are for doubt. We want a better future for our two countries and for our people. And we know that we are stronger when we work together.
Trade with China is important, but we need to address the fairness and equitability of some of their practices. We want free trade, but we also want fair trade.
Things like let's have scientific basis for measures. Let's recognize equivalent results, even if countries use different approaches to get there. That's the kind of thing we're going to be talking about globally and as well as China.
I'm old enough to remember at least watching the TV news when President Nixon went to China. And since then, the relationship between China and the United States has indeed been complex. But I think for agribusiness and the trade area, the last 10 years particularly has been particularly complex.
So we like to say that the emphasis is on products from farm to chopsticks in China. And it's really starting to take off.
Really, the customer base is top notch in China. I've traded with over 30 countries, and I put China right there on top in terms of the integrity of the buyers there. It's an easy place to do business in terms of an advanced banking system. The infrastructure, top notch for the 5 largest ports in the world are in China.
We see people the world over becoming much more interested in knowing where their food comes from, how it was produced, what's the footprint that it's leaving as it's being produced. And it's no different in China. And fortunately for US soy and for Nebraska soy farmers and soy farmers across the US, we have a very good message there and we have a very good track record.
So collaboration is really needed across the entire food and ag value chain to slow the negative impacts of climate change. And by working together with China to promote sustainable agriculture practices, support climate-friendly initiatives like carbon sequestration, reducing our carbon footprint of our operations, and innovating planet-friendly products for global consumers and customers, together our 2 countries can really make a big difference here.
It is widely recognized that agricultural trade between our 2 countries is highly complementary. Looking into the future, agricultural trade between China and the United States still has huge potential, with Chinese people starting to upgrade food consumption and improving dietary structure by importing high quality food. China's expansion of agriculture import is an inevitable and irreversible trend. I believe we should expect not only getting back to normal, but an even brighter future. And we certainly look forward to working more closely with states like Nebraska.
But I think the message of the day, at least that I got, is that a predictable and boring relationship with China is good for both countries. And the common theme here is predictability. And I think that is what we're seeing all across the country today, is that we need more predictability, not only our policies with China, but in our policies overall.
Today's event has been a most interesting and important conversation. Many thanks to all of our wonderful speakers and panelists for sharing your time and expertise.